Hey, it's Ben here for the Strength Factory. Pretty much every year for the last decade, I've had some form of skills coaching to make me a better mountain biker. So today I'm here on a very cold day in the Forest of Dean with Luke Marshall from Pro Ride MTB Coaching, who's going to help me to get even better. So first of all then, Luke. Well, Luke is a really good rider. 20 years ago you were racing Downhill World Cup?
Yeah, about that.
And doing all right. He's good on bikes. Now, yeah, Luke works for Pro Ride. I've had coaching from Pro Ride in the past. I've always had a great experience, which is why I come back to them year on year. And I'm just stoked to be here. We've ridden together before. I say together, we rode plenty, and you dropped me like a bad smell very quickly. So I know that basically I'm going to listen. When Luke is talking, I'm listening, and I'm really confident that you can help me to improve today.
Yeah, sounds good. So first things first then, from my side, is what are you looking to improve? Obviously, you say better rider, that's quite a broad subject.
For me, I have made a lot of progress the last few years, but I think the thing that I still need to work on is carrying more speed out of turns, which probably means less speed into them, okay?
Yeah.
On a good day, I know when I get it right, I can carry some speed, but I think I'm inconsistent. I quite often get overexcited, I go in too fast, I brake mid-turn, I stand the bike up and then pedal out, which obviously we all know is
exhausting,
inefficient, it's tiring, and it's not fast. And yeah, this spring I'm doing my first downhill race.
Oh, awesome.
And I want to beat my mate Joe, basically. So
good to have a goal. So there's some really good specifics. So I think let's get on the trail, we'll have a bit of a watch, get some warm-up runs on the track we're going to use. We'll probably go somewhere quite mellow to start with. It is going to be slippery and greasy. The corners we're going to choose are going to be a little bit unsupported, so technique is going to be really key. Entry, speed, getting our bike under control so we can then use our body to find as much grip as possible.
quite smooth,
yeah,
and boring.
Don't worry, that could be a positive thing.
Yeah. So I think generally my riding is smooth and boring. I don't get out of shape much.
Yeah.
And I think that what you saw there is basically how I ride.
Yeah, okay. So like foundational knowledge is brilliant. Yeah, you explain clearly kind of lots of things you want to do. One key point I think was missing in there is actually how you get the bike to lean over. So if we want to go faster around corners, we're going to have to lean the bike more.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to move our body in such a way that we can help generate grip for that speed.
Okay.
So you talked a lot about pumping the bike, you talked about where your weight position was. One thing you didn't miss is actually how you're going to lean the bike over.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and that's kind of one of the key things for kind of riding corners successfully. We want to kind of point our hands in the direction we want to turn. So if we're going to turn to the left, we're going to basically point our hands over to the left. That's going to generate the lean angle of the bike.
Yeah.
Okay? I say the other left, the right.
Yeah,
Call it the right.
My left.
And then vice versa.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
we
yeah.
want to turn to the left, you know,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
going to have to point our hands to the left. And then our body will turn in the same direction.
Cool.
You talked about that, like turning the hips, turning the knees into the turn. That, when you do that, gives the space for the bike to lean over even more and keeps us, like I said, on top of the side knobs of the tyres, pushing the bike into the ground. Okay, so
Luke's going to go up now and give me a demo. The thing that we're going to work on now is that kind of like moving the bars out sideways to initiate the turn and help me get more lean angle. So Luke's going to show me and then I'm going to have a go.
did you feel like you were riding in an odd way just because I've asked you not to do much?
No.
Or it felt quite natural?
No, I think that felt like my normal riding.
Yes, so as we come round, you see you've kind of dropped your shoulder to the inside. We don't get that long inside arm, short outside arm, where we've lent the bike and not ourselves.
Yeah.
So you're in a good position on the bike, but you've lent in with it.
Yeah, dropping that shoulder.
Yeah, and it's taking your balance away from the edge of the tyres.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a bit more slippery there. I say there, the head starts to go in, and the shoulder drops a little bit, and That's what leans the bike, rather than the hands moving across in front of you.
Okay, cool.
So for Ben, he stands on the bike really well. He has actually a really good basic position on the bike. What we're trying to get him to do is to lean the bike underneath that stable position. That's going to help him find grip on the trail and can still ride in a really composed and safe way. But it will allow him to carve corners better, carry more speed through the corners, but we just need him to get a bit more lean angle from the bike whilst kind of keeping himself solid on top of it.
I got it a little bit sometimes, but I definitely didn't nail it.
So when we're learning new skills,
Yeah.
you want to be on super easy terrain.
Yeah,
Keep the
yeah.
environment as simple as possible, because the brain can only process one thing at a time, as you know. So if the trail's too technical when you're learning something new, you just won't be able to concentrate.
Yeah.
This is what you did originally at the bottom.
Yeah.
Shoulders dropped in, short inside arm.
Yeah,
And you definitely got a much higher lean angle at the start.
Yeah,
Keeping your
yeah.
weight balanced on the outside. That's a really good entry to that corner.
I feel like that one's less of a turn, it's more of just a little push.
That one's more of
I
a
still
little
need
pump, but we still want, if we're going to do that little pump, it's going to be bang.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Not going to be, whoa.
Yeah,
Like, it takes so much longer to lean your whole body
yeah.
than it does just to push the bike to the
Okay,
side
cool.
with the hand. Let's go and go onto the fire road,
Hit the cones.
and we're going to do some slalom practice.
Cool.
Just to get that familiarity of just moving the bike side to side,
Yeah, yeah.
but just quite rhythmically underneath us.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's we try and exaggerate it on the road. It's just again make the so we're
Yeah.
learning a kind of a not a new skill, but improving the skill you've
Yeah,
got.
yeah, yeah.
And, but it's just going to help get that exaggeration.
Happy days.
Yeah.
So look, I'm a fairly decent rider, but sometimes we all need to swallow our ego, and nobody is too good or too advanced to do cone drills on the fire road. And I'm more than happy to go back to basics, because remember, one of the things I always talk about is that mastering the basics is what makes you good in the gym, it's what makes you good on your bike, it's what makes you good at life, okay? So it doesn't matter how advanced you think you are, get back to basics, and for me right now that means swallowing my pride and going around cones on the fire road. Felt like I did all right. It felt like I was leaning a bit.
So what we're looking for is that longer inside arm, short straight outside arm, which you've got there. Daylight between you and the bike. Solid on the turn to your right.
Right, yeah.
Okay, last corner's a bit funky, but
Yeah,
I was
'cause I
stood
just
in the
went
way.
straight,
So
yeah,
yeah.
it's fine.
Okay, so overall, there's some really good positions on the bike. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what we want to feel. So have a go this time and just trying to exaggerate it as much as
All right.
possible.
More lean.
Yeah, just see what you can get out of it. Yeah, he's doing really well. So Ben, fortunately, has a really solid position just standing on the bike, and we're just trying to get him to be a bit more agile at moving the bike underneath him. So we just come to the fire road, going to do a bit of slalom practice, just so we can isolate that movement and make it just easier to learn that movement pattern. Take this feeling that we've got, being really active with moving the bike sideways underneath us, keeping that composure, we'll put it back on the trail.
Cool. Let's do it.
Bit of a slip on one of the top corners, hey, but that's what it's all about, learning. Some bits were better, some bits were worse, and I think the corner Ben slipped out on was probably because he leant inside too much at the start of the turn. So video evidence, I'm afraid.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, so Ben, so some really positive points about what we did up there, and then kind of putting it onto the trail. As always, there's going to be a learning process. It's not going to be perfect every time. So go out and practice. And it's going to feel a bit peculiar working on your weaknesses, and sometimes going to be difficult and be frustrating.
Yeah.
But we're going to gain confidence through like successful experience. So the more time you can put into this, the more successes you're going to have, and the more confident you'll feel doing it. But again, just balance that with going out and having fun on the bike. First of all, riding should be enjoyable. If we're always in the just get better mindset, train, it can become a bit tedious. Yeah. So mix it up with your riding, but definitely work on these bits. But at the same time, go have fun and make sure riding's enjoyable first.
That's cool. And you know what? I didn't know Luke was going to say this, and it's a message I've talked about before and that I really believe in. It's that balancing out deliberate practice, which I think if you want to improve at anything, you need to do, and riding your bike, having fun, going out with your friends, and every ride is a training ride and stuff like that. So that's cool. I'm all on board.
All right, but now it's time for some more punishment.
Yeah.
So we just worked on some like cornering technique and getting you the bike moving underneath you a bit more. And you mentioned at the start about how you kind of sometimes come into corners too hot, blow out the corner, make mistakes, stand the bike up. Yeah. All the bad things to
standard mountain bike behaviour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Gunner. So we're at this little section of track, and this is super important and a real good little place to kind of practice controlling our speed on the entry. It's actually got quite a steep little running, which is difficult to control speed on, and then a real tight little catch berm. So it's super easy to come in too hot, blow through this corner, grab some brakes, it's quite steep, and not make it round. So we're going to just kind of isolate that little entry speed control, and then still use that leaning movement we did at the top, just to kind of emphasize getting around the corner.
Cool. He's fast, isn't he? Jesus. I'm not sure he did brake.
Watching that back, you nailed it, Ben.
Really?
Yeah, solid.
Happy days, completed it, mate. Yeah, I just took a moment before I dropped in to stop and try and visualise it, which I think is important, and it helps me. I kind of almost rehearsed it just up there, like sliding the bike across. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I got a bit lucky, but it felt good. I rode through it and I did think, oh, maybe that's gone all right.
So like solid braking position, you kind of shift a little backwards, you kind of got your heels down, so you know, gaining maximum traction you can. And then you control the speed to the point where you kind of then end up a little bit more forwards again, and lean the bike over at the start of the turn. So Ben, we've come to a different part of a trail in the woods, and these corners there's some Flowy link berms, but they've got a bit more support on them. So that way we can try and generate some speed by pumping the bike through them. Yeah, something you said that was kind of catching you out a little bit earlier.
Yeah. What I'm thinking when I'm hitting something like this is I'm wondering, do I need that bike body separation, or do I just try and keep everything lined up and just like push through sort of thing? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, really good question. Anytime the bike can be perpendicular to the trail, so if we're going along the flat, bike's perpendicular. If we go around a berm and you can keep the bike as perpendicular to the trail as possible, in theory, we shouldn't need the separation. Okay. Any time that the bike has to lean over more than the angle of the trail can support you, then we're going to have to introduce this a little bit of separation. So it will depend on every turn. It's going to be slightly different. Trying too hard.
I felt like that went all right. I felt quite committed. Yeah, I think it was all right.
Yeah, that was solid. So what we're going to do is we get the camera right now, have another run through, we film it, break it down, see where we can make improvements and what you did well and what we can refine a little bit from the start. Quick
prediction. I felt like I rode it well. The first time the camera's going to come out, I'm going to fuck it up.
So here the upper body dives in, and you can get away with it because it is supported.
Yeah. You feel like I just dropped the shoulder into it.
Yeah, and it's a fine line between, I personally, right or wrongly, we're trying to initiate every turn with the hands, just to get that initial lean angle, and then you and the bike can lean together. So for Ben, we're just going to his position on the bike again. solid, and his timing was pretty good. We just want him to make sure he's generating his pump coming out of the turn. That's going to give him the most drive forwards for the exit. And also when he's coming into the turn, making sure he's not just dropping his shoulder to the inside. The first movement is going to be just from the hands, and then him and the bike can crank over together.
That's a different game.
Yeah, that was solid.
Luke, I've had a great time. I need to go away, I need to practice now. Give me like the take home. What do I need to work on? How am I going to get faster?
Yep, so a few positives really. Maintain your real good body position on the bike.
Yep.
Just try and make the bike more dynamic underneath you. So really use the hands to lean the bike to the side.
Yep.
Yep. Use your body position to be really positive in driving the bike through the corner.
Yep.
So pointing with your knees and hips in the direction you want to go. And then reading the trail, if you want to up the speed, be 2 or 3 bike lengths further down the trail than you currently are. Brake earlier, give yourself the time to make those body positions to really lean the bike over.
Happy days. That's brilliant, Luke. Thanks very much. Like I said, at the moment, I'm not any faster. I get faster now through practice. So I need to go away, I need to do some deliberate practice, slow it down, easy trails, and that's going to make the progress and hopefully be a faster rider for the summer. Cheers.